Hundreds of families living with incurable illnesses benefit each year from the work of well-known Shropshire charity Severn Hospice, and they are known with such affection in the county as well. And now, at probably the hardest time the charity has ever faced, it's welcoming a new chair to its board of trustees, Jeanette Whitford. Good morning, Jeanette.
Good morning. Lovely to talk to you.
I mean, you never saw this one coming then, did you?
Well, no, I don't think we did.
No. What's your background then, Jeanette?
Well, my background is that all my professional working life, I've worked in the probation field, and I ended my career as Chief Probation Officer in the Bristol area. But at one point, I was a probation officer in Telford, and we lived and worked here for 10 years. And we always thought we might come back to Shropshire. So here we are, and I now find myself as not only a trustee on the charity, but taking on the chair role as well for Severn Hospice.
What was it that brought you to the role then? What was it that you wanted to do?
Right. Well, I mean, I've always been involved with charity work, and certainly over the last 10 years, I've been a trustee on a number of different charities. I care about charities that really make a difference to people's lives, particularly when they're at a vulnerable point. When I was working in Bristol, I was a trustee for the air ambulance charity. So when we moved back to Shropshire, and I went to a luncheon for the hospice, I started talking to people and was invited to become a trustee. We had a daughter, our first child, died at the age of 7 months from an incurable disease, a genetic disease. So we know at first hand just how hard it is to lose someone. And at that point, long time ago, 40 years ago, there just wasn't help available. The hospices were in their infancy, and we didn't have a lot of support. We just had to get on with it.
Yeah.
And then over the years, we've obviously seen friends go through difficult times. Our godson died at the age of 30. And then over the last 2 years, 2 years ago, my very, very dear friend in Shropshire died in the hospice here. So I have seen at first hand just how wonderful, caring, compassionate the hospice is, and how important it is, not only to the person who is suffering the illness, but also to partners and friends around them. And that support for families and friends and their partners is just so important. So I was very, very touched by that, having been through an experience like it myself. I thought this was amazing and wanted to be involved in it.
You mentioned
and so here I am.
Well, and welcome, and good to have you back. You were a founding trustee of the Friends of Conakry Refugee School, and we've talked about that before on the programme. So are you still involved in that?
Yes, I'm still a trustee. I had a little break when I left Shropshire, but since coming back, I've rejoined as a trustee. Right. And again, it's an organisation which supports people in a very vulnerable situation. So it absolutely fits with my own values, and I think that's so important, that you have to be involved with things that you absolutely care about and want to represent.
Definitely. And obviously, with all of what's been going on for the last 6 months, no fundraising, funds are always tight anyway. How are you going to cope through that?
Well, yes, I mean, you're absolutely right. Of course, we've had a terrific impact from the pandemic on our fundraising. We don't stop caring just because, this awful thing has happened, and it hasn't changed the number of people who need us to help them. What it has meant for us is that all of a sudden, when lockdown happened, we had to, of course, shut all our shops, 28 of them. All our volunteers, 1,400 of them, had to stay home and couldn't do all the wonderful things that they do for us. And we lost the ability to raise £100,000 a week. So it's a lot of money.
Isn't it just? Yeah.
Isn't it just? So the big challenge now is to recover from that. We're not in a desperate situation because we've managed the resources really well. The management team have been amazing. We've stretched the resources. We've had some government support. So we're not going to fall over. We're resilient. But, oh golly, we do need to recover from that hit. And of course, the shops are now beginning to reopen. But like everywhere, in all town centres everywhere, people aren't using the shops like they did. So we need people to keep coming back. We need people to donate to our shops. We need people to keep funding us. I mean, we've had fantastic support during the lockdown. Our supporters have been amazing. We run a lottery, and that lottery has brought us income in, which is, invaluable. So we need people to keep doing things, because one of the other things that happened, of course, was all the events that normally people do in the summer, like running marathons and doing dragon races and garden fetes and all of those things, didn't happen.
No, absolutely. So it's definitely
So,
going to be a challenge for you then, isn't it?
well, it's going to be a challenge, but we're up for it, and I think people are very optimistic about this, us coming back from that. And we've got big plans for next year. We're opening a new centre called Living Well, which will use community resources to support people who don't need to go into the hospice at the time. So there'll be lots of therapists and resources and treatments available in one centre at Bicton. And there'll also be a cafe there for anybody can use to meet their friends and chat and find out more about how the hospice operates, and maybe take away some of that fear about what a hospice means, because actually they're amazing places, and although there is sadness there, there's also hope and optimism and love and compassion. So there's a lot of good things going on, and we're looking forward to opening that during next year.
Jeanette, it sounds wonderful, and you sound incredibly positive, and we wish you all the luck in the world in your new role.
Thank you. Well, I hope that people will go onto our website, severnhospice.org.uk, and they can find lots of ways of supporting us and helping us, even if they can't come out and do the volunteering things that lots of people would like to do at the moment. So please use that.
Thank you very much for talking to us. Jeanette Whitford, the new chair of Severn Hospice.
BBC Radio Shropshire, 12 minutes to 9. The headlines today. The government's considering